You sit down to work. You open the document. 4 minutes later, you've checked your phone twice, opened 2 tabs you didn't intend to open, and you can't remember what you were about to write. You close the tabs. You look at the document again. You feel the pull to check just one more thing. This isn't distraction in the way people usually describe it. This is your dopamine system operating exactly as it was trained. And it was trained by you, over months, without you knowing the training was happening. The neuroscience here is precise. Dr. Anna Lemke, professor at Stanford and director of the Addiction Medicine Clinic, spent years documenting how the brain's dopamine baseline recalibrates in response to the frequency and intensity of the stimuli it receives most often. Dopamine isn't the pleasure chemical. That's a persistent misconception. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It fires in response to the prediction of reward, not the reward itself. When you expose your brain to a constant stream of short-form content, instant notifications, and rapid context switches, you're training the anticipation circuits to expect stimulation at a very high frequency. The baseline rises, and once the baseline rises, anything slower, including deep work, complex reading, extended conversation, or sustained creative output, registers as unrewarding before you've even begun. The work didn't get harder. Your brain's threshold for what counts as interesting just shifted. David is 32 years old, a software engineer at a fintech startup, and 3 years ago, he could maintain 4-hour focus blocks with routine effort. He built features from scratch in single sessions, debugged complex systems without needing to break every 20 minutes. Now he struggles to hold meaningful attention for longer than 15 minutes before the pull to check something becomes functionally irresistible. He hasn't become lazier. He hasn't lost his skills. His dopamine calibration has drifted in response to his daily stimulation environment. And the environment shifted so gradually that he didn't notice it happening until the performance drop became undeniable. What David had been doing for 2 years, without naming it, training his brain to expect novelty on a 5 to 10 minute loop. Every time he checked his phone during a moment of friction in his work, he sent a signal. When this gets hard, relief is available quickly. Every time he opened a new tab because the current document felt slow, he reinforced. Sticking with something difficult is optional. The brain didn't choose to become distracted. It adapted to the environment you gave it. That is its function. Optimization. The problem is it optimized for the wrong frequency. A dopamine fast isn't about eliminating dopamine or pretending pleasure is the enemy. The term is somewhat misleading. What it actually means, in the research context that Lemke and others have described, is a deliberate period of reduced high stimulation input to allow the brain's reward baseline to recalibrate downward. When you remove the high-frequency inputs, not forever, but for a structured window, the natural rewards of focused work become accessible again. The threshold drops back to a level where sustained attention can compete with novelty. The work itself becomes the thing worth doing, rather than feeling like deprivation by comparison. Before we go further, this pattern connects directly to what the Untamed Mind protocol was built to address. The ebook identifies the force sabotage mechanisms your own mind uses against you. The dopamine calibration drift is one of them, and it's the one that most affects high performers, who can't understand why their output declined when their effort didn't. The daily performance panel is where you implement the system, with structured focus windows, a distraction log, and a 3-point nightly review. And the reprogramming audio track works in the first 20 minutes of your morning, before the stimulation cycle starts, and before the phone goes on. 3 tools, $9. Link in the description. Back to this. David's intervention wasn't extreme. He didn't destroy his phone or remove himself from screens entirely. He identified 3 specific windows in his day that he protected from high stimulation input. The first 60 minutes after waking, the 90-minute deep work block before his first meeting, and the 45 minutes before bed. During those windows, he removed the triggers that created the anticipation loops. Phone in another room, notifications off, browser with only the necessary tab open. No music with vocals, no background content, no checking. The first 3 days felt unbearable, not because anything painful happened, because nothing happened. And the brain had been trained to interpret nothing happening as a problem that required immediate solving via stimulation. By day 5, the friction reduced noticeably. By the end of 2 weeks, David was completing 90-minute focus blocks consistently for the first time in 2 years. Not because he had more willpower, because the baseline had recalibrated enough that deep work stopped feeling like deprivation. The second structural shift was environmental. David stopped keeping his phone on his desk during work hours entirely, not because he didn't trust himself, because architecture matters more than intention when the system has been conditioned. Every time you see the phone, the anticipation circuit fires even if you don't pick it up. Removing the visual cue removes the trigger at the source, not at the willpower level. What David recovered wasn't just focus. When the baseline drops, sustained attention becomes available again across every domain. Conversation, reading, problem solving, creative work. The people he talked to felt like he was actually present in the conversation for the first time in a long time. He noticed that too. Your brain optimizes for whatever you feed it consistently. The question isn't whether you can control your attention, it's what environment you've been training in. Type reset in the comments if this named something you've been living. The Untamed Mind protocol goes further. Ebook, panel, and audio track in the description link. Subscribe too. The baseline shifted without you choosing it. Shifting it back is a choice you can make now.